My sister swore it was his child until we saw the baby in the hospital. It started with a positive test and a calculated lie that shattered two families. I still remember the night Brittany told our parents. The air in the living room was so thick you could choke on it. My father was pacing back and forth, his face a mask of disappointment, while my mother was already weeping into a handkerchief, mourning the loss of our family's pristine reputation. Brittany sat on the edge of the sofa, looking small and fragile, clutching her stomach. When my father finally stopped pacing and demanded to know who the father was, Brittany didn't even flinch. She looked him dead in the eye and said, "It's Tyler. Tyler. The boy next door. The golden child of our neighborhood." Tyler was the kind of guy who mowed elderly neighbors' lawns for free and had a full scholarship to a good university. He was tall, with shock blonde hair and eyes the color of the summer sky. And, conveniently for my parents, he came from money. The horror on my father's face instantly morphed into calculation. This wasn't a disaster anymore, it was a leverageable situation. They didn't ask Brittany if she loved him. They didn't ask how it happened. They just marched next door that very evening. I don't know what was said in Tyler's living room, but I know the result. A wedding was arranged within 3 weeks. It was a shotgun wedding disguised as a romantic whirlwind. Tyler looked shell-shocked the entire time. He was a good guy, too good, and he stepped up because he thought it was the honorable thing to do. He thought he was taking responsibility for a moment of passion. I remember watching him at the altar, sweating in his tuxedo, trying to smile at Brittany, who looked beautiful but utterly detached. I felt a knot in my stomach then, a sense that something was wrong, but I pushed it down. I wanted to believe the lie too. The months of the pregnancy were excruciating. Tyler tried so hard. He painted the nursery, he bought the crib, he read the books. He dropped out of his semester abroad to stay home and get a job to support his new family. Brittany, on the other hand, was a ghost. She avoided eye contact with him. She flinched when he tried to touch her bump. She spent hours locked in her room, and when I tried to talk to her, she would just say she was tired. I thought it was hormones. I thought she was scared of becoming a mother so young. I never suspected the sheer depth of the deception she was maintaining every single second of every single day. Then came the labor. It was a stormy Tuesday when her water broke. We all rushed to the hospital, my parents, Tyler, his parents, and me. The waiting room was a buzz of nervous energy. Tyler was pacing, looking terrified but excited to meet his son. My mother was already bragging to a nurse about her new grandson, talking about how beautiful he would be, how he would have the family chin and Tyler's striking eyes. The hubris was blinding. When the doctor finally told us we could come in, it was a stampede. We crowded into the delivery room, cameras ready, hearts pounding. Brittany was lying in the bed, looking exhausted and pale, holding a bundle wrapped in a generic hospital blanket. Tyler rushed to her side, tears in his eyes, reaching out to pull back the blanket. "Let's see him," Tyler whispered, his voice trembling with emotion. "Let's see our boy." Brittany didn't move her hands. She looked at me, panic flashing in her eyes for a split second, before she resigned herself to the inevitable. She pulled the blanket back. The room didn't just go quiet, the atmosphere evaporated. It was as if someone had sucked all the oxygen out of the space. The baby was beautiful. He was perfect, with 10 fingers and 10 toes and a head full of thick, dark, curly hair. And his skin. His skin was a rich, beautiful CAF au lait color. He was undeniably, unmistakably mixed race. I looked at Tyler. He was blonde. Brittany was pale as a sheet with light brown hair. There was no recessive gene, no dormant ancestor, no biological loophole that could explain this. The silence stretched for 10 seconds, but it felt like 10 years. I saw Tyler's brain trying to process the visual information, trying to make the math work, and then failing. His face went from confusion to realization to absolute horror. He backed away from the bed as if he had been burned. "That's Tyler started, but his voice failed him. He looked at Brittany, waiting for an explanation, a joke, anything. But Brittany just stared at the wall. Then came the sound of a body hitting the floor. My mother. She had taken one look at the baby, realized the social catastrophe that had just occurred, and fainted dead away, crumbling into a heap of expensive fabric near the door. The nurses rushed to her, but my father ignored her. He was staring at the baby, his face turning a shade of purple I had never seen before. He looked at Tyler's parents, who were standing there with their mouths open, looking between the baby and their son. You liar! Tyler's mother finally screamed, breaking the spell. You trapped him. You dirty little liar. Tyler didn't scream. He didn't yell. He just started crying, a silent, broken weeping. He looked at Brittany one last time, a look of pure betrayal that I will never forget, and then he turned and ran out of the room. His parents followed, shouting insults over their shoulders. My father stood there, shaking, before he turned to Brittany and hissed, "You have disgraced us." Then he walked out, leaving my unconscious mother on the floor. I was the only one left standing. I felt a wave of nausea, shame, and confusion. I looked at my sister, who was now crying softly, and then I looked at the baby. He started to fuss, a tiny, innocent sound in the midst of the wreckage. I walked over and picked him up. He was warm. He smelled like a newborn. He gripped my finger with his tiny, dark hand. And in that moment, the anger faded into something else. It didn't matter who his father was. He was here. He was my nephew. The next week was a blur of lawyers and boxes. Tyler filed for divorce and an annulment immediately. He didn't even ask for a paternity test. The visual evidence was enough, and Brittany didn't contest it. She moved back into our parents' house, which had become a mausoleum of silence. My mother recovered from her faint but fell into a deep depression. My father refused to speak to Brittany. Brittany wouldn't talk. She wouldn't explain. She just sat in the rocking chair, nursing the baby, staring out the window. It took 7 days for me to finally break through to her. I went into her room late one night, sat on the floor next to her, and asked the question everyone wanted to know. "Brittany," I said gently. "Who is he? Who is the father?" She looked down at the baby, tracing the curve of his ear. "I don't know, Sarah," she whispered. I blinked. "You don't know? How can you not know?" She let out a long, ragged sigh. "I was messy, Sarah. After I lost my job last year, I spiraled. I was going out every night. I was meeting guys at clubs, bars, parties. I didn't ask names. I didn't care. I just wanted to feel something other than sad." She looked up at me, tears streaming down her face. When I missed my period, I panicked. I knew Mom and Dad would kill me if I had a baby with some random guy I met at a club. I knew they would kick me out. So when I saw Tyler, sweet, safe Tyler, I thought I could save myself. I thought maybe, just maybe, the baby would come out looking like me, and I could take the secret to my grave. I didn't know it would be this obvious. "You destroyed Tyler," I said, unable to hide the judgment in my voice. "You let him think he was a father." "I know," she sobbed. "I know I'm going to hell for it. But look at him." She held the baby out to me. "He's the only real thing I have. It's been 6 months since the birth. The divorce is finalized. Tyler moved to another state to start over. He couldn't handle the whispers in the neighborhood. My sister is a pariah in town, but inside our house, things have shifted in a strange way. My mother, who I thought would never forgive this, was the first to crack. I found her one afternoon holding the baby. We named him Elijah. She was cooing at him, fixing his little socks. "He has Brittany's nose," she told me defiantly, daring me to contradict her. She decided that having a grandchild was more important than the scandal. She's become fiercely protective of Elijah. If anyone in the grocery store looks at him too long or asks about his father, my mother gives them a death stare that could freeze hell over. She has accepted that her grandson is a beautiful, mixed-race boy with an unknown father, and she loves him fiercely. It's a strange, broken ending. We are a family built on a lie that exploded, but now we are rebuilding around the innocent life that came from it. I love Elijah more than I thought possible. But sometimes, when I'm walking him in the stroller and I see a blonde man walk by, I think of Tyler, and the guilt washes over me all over again.